solve the problems of the world or convince anyone of anything, but just to learn. So in a moment, are we ready to go, Siva?
Okay.
Welcome, everybody. I'm very happy to welcome everyone here to our 160th presentation, which I'll introduce our speaker, Reverend John Jegasothi, probably a little bit later. And that would be a very interesting talk, I can tell already by the topic, which is on the screen. But we'll come to that a bit later. The order of proceedings that we normally follow is that we'll have an honouring of Indigenous people, which I'll do briefly, and then 2 songs, and then readings from holy writings, closing song, and then I'll introduce the speaker. So welcome, and I'd like to acknowledge and honour the Indigenous land and people, my wife and I in particular, on the land of the Gadigal and Bidjigal people in Sydney, Australia. And there is widespread acknowledgement, this is from a message of the Universal House of Justice, that the present-day structures of society are ill-prepared to address the needs of humanity in its current travails. Much that was widely assumed to be certain and unshakable is being questioned, and the resulting ferment is producing a longing for a unifying vision. The chorus of voices raised in support of oneness, equality and justice shows how many share these aspirations for their societies. And I guess that's a principle underlying our relationship with all people.
I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God.
Strive that your actions day by day may be beautiful prayers.
Strive that your actions day by day may be beautiful prayers. Turn towards God and seek always to do that which is right and noble. Enrich the poor, raise the fallen, comfort the sorrowful, bring healing to the sick, reassure the fearful, rescue the oppressed, bring hope to the hopeless, shelter the destitute. Strive that your actions day by day may be beautiful prayers. Turn towards God and seek always to do that which is right and noble. Enrich the poor, raise the fallen, comfort the sorrowful, bring healing to the sick, reassure the fearful, rescue the oppressed, bring hope to the hopeless, shelter the destitute. Strive that your actions day by day may be beautiful prayers. Turn towards God and seek always to do that which is right and noble. Enrich the poor, raise the fallen, comfort the sorrowful, bring healing to the sick, reassure the fearful, rescue the oppressed, bring hope to the hopeless, shelter the destitute. Strive that your actions day by day may be beautiful prayers. Turn towards God and seek always to do that which is right and noble. Enrich the poor, raise the fallen, comfort the sorrowful, bring healing to rescue the oppressed, bring hope to the hopeless, shelter the destitute.
O thou merciful God, O thou who art mighty and powerful, O thou most kind Father, these servants have gathered together, turning to thee, supplicating thy threshold, desiring thine endless bounties from thy great assurance. They have no purpose save thy good pleasure. They have no intention save service to the world of humanity. O God, make this assemblage radiant. Make the hearts merciful. Confer the bounties of thy Holy Spirit. Endow them with the power from the heaven. Bless them with heavenly minds. Increase their sincerity so that with all humility and contrition they may turn to thy kingdom and be occupied with service to the world of humanity. May each one become a radiant candle. May each one become a brilliant star. May each one become beautiful in color and redolent of fragrance in the kingdom of God. O kind Father, confer thy blessings. Consider not our shortcomings. Shelter us under thy protection. Remember not our sins. Heal us with thy mercy. We are weak. Thou art mighty. We are poor. Thou art rich. We are sick. Thou art the physician. We are needy. Thou art most generous. O God, endow us with thy providence. Thou art the powerful. Thou art the giver. Thou art the beneficent. Baha'u'llah. Baha'i Faith, Abdul Baha.
Now this is the time that you may arise and perform this most great service and become the cause of the guidance of innumerable souls. Thus, through this superhuman service, the rays of peace and conciliation may illumine and enlighten all the regions, and the world of humanity may find peace and composure. Abdul Baha.
Not from sacrifice, nor penance, nor gift giving, nor with prayer shall any behold me. Only by fullest service, perfect faith, and uttermost surrender am I known and seen and entered into. Who doeth all for me, who findeth me in all, adoreth always, loveth all which I have made, and loveth me. For love's sole end, that man unto me doeth bend. Strive constantly to serve the welfare of the world. By devotion to selfless work, one attains the supreme goal in life. Do your work with welfare of others always in mind. At the beginning, mankind and the obligation of selfless service were created together. Through selfless service, you will always be fruitful and find the fulfillment of your desires. This is the promise of the Creator. Hinduism, Bhagavad Gita.
Make haste in doing good. Check your mind from evil. For the mind of him who is slow in doing meritorious actions delights in evil. Should a person commit evil, he should not do it again and again. He should not find pleasure therein, painful in the accumulation of evil. Should a person perform a meritorious action, he should do it again and again. He should find pleasure therein. Blissful is the accumulation of merit. Buddhist scriptures, Buddhism, Dhammapada 11618.
Know ye all that God giveth the life to the earth after its death. Already we have shown the signs plainly to you, that ye may learn wisdom. For those who give in charity, men and women, and loan to God a beautiful loan, it shall be increased manifold to their credit, and they shall have besides a liberal reward. Holy Quran.
Do nothing from selfishness or conceit, but in humility count others better than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others. Christianity, Philippians 2:3-4. But love ye your enemies, and do good, and lend, hoping for nothing again. And your reward shall be great, and ye shall be the children of the highest. For he is kind unto the unthankful and to the evil. Be ye therefore merciful, as your Father also is merciful. Judge not, and ye shall not be judged. Condemn not, and ye shall not be condemned. Forgive, and ye shall be forgiven. Christianity, Luke 6:35-37.
It is incumbent upon every man of insight and understanding to strive to translate that which hath been written into reality and action. That one indeed is a man who today dedicated himself to the service of the entire human race. Be anxiously concerned with the needs of the age ye live in, and center your deliberations on its exigencies and requirements. Baha'u'llah.
O God, my God, aid thou thy trusted servants to have loving and tender hearts. Help them to spread amongst all the nations of the earth the light of guidance that cometh from the company on high. Verily, thou art the strong, the powerful, the mighty, the all-subduing, the ever-giving. Verily, thou art the generous, the gentle, the tender, the most bountiful.
Thank you very much to the readers and receiver for the selection of music and readings. Now, my very, very great pleasure to welcome again one of our favourite presenters and one of my favourite people, which is Reverend John Jegasothy. And John, as many of you will know already, is retired from the Uniting Church, but actively involved in community development, human rights, justice, advocacy, and settlement of asylum seekers and refugees, and multicultural ministry and Christian spirituality. And also Reverend John is from, had many years, I think it was 18 from memory, in Parkes, where I grew up. And so we've got that connection as well. And an intriguing topic tonight, which I hope will become clear as it proceeds, which is imperfection to imperfection, conscious transformation for a better person and community, an interactive session. So, and I've been asked by John to let you know that you don't have to wait to the end before you raise your hand or ask a question. Over to you, John. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Colin. On the onset, I must say, most of the readings and the songs, the music and the song, very touching, and I think that gives the positive side of what I'm going to say as a negative sort of outlook at the moment with what is happening in the world and what is happening to humanity. I would say that, you know, the context of my presentation is the ongoing global war, not just Ukraine and Gaza, but they are the most heartbreaking stories, and but it is there in every area of life and in all nations, and it's in different shapes and sizes, but there is a war going on between people, between nations, to the extent that we are fearful of living in the age of nuclear war. Someone said at some stage of listening to Gaza situation escalating, they said the third world war has started. That was frightening. And even Australia, as a peaceful country, is making submarines and want to protect our country and the border. So and also the human degradation and the values of human life that is being simply neglected or treated shabbily. And some of the things I hear about how the children died and the women died and the pregnant mothers died in Gaza is something that one cannot even imagine happening. It's horrendous. So at the same time, we have done enough damage to climate change. You know, this is human-made mostly. So this is the background in which that I started thinking when Siva talked to me and talked about unity. I was thinking, you know, is evil defeating goodness? So we believe that, you know, there is a fight going on, or the evil against goodness in the world, but has it taken another stage altogether? So before I could go on to the next stage, I would like to read something that I received in my morning meditation. It says, as in nature, as in art, so in grace, it is rough treatment that gives souls as well as stones their luster. The more the diamond is cut, the brighter it sparks. And in what seems hard dealing, there God has no end in view but to perfect his people. That is God's intention. Thomas Guthrie is the author of this reflection. But then, looking at the evolution theory that we are all familiar with, we are supposed to progress. Flora, fauna, humanity supposed to be evolving from imperfection to perfection, from meaninglessness to meaning. But is it what's happening now? The process is never easy, but hazardous, painful, even dangerous, even destruction of many parts of the nature, and of course, even through wars and the destruction of nations. We look at the past history of the world, of humanity, war after war, and now we are in another stage altogether. So, could we go from imperfection to perfection? Is the question that I'm posing. All living creatures we would aspire, endeavor, and work hard towards perfection, at least to achieve their fullest potential. Every nation does, every person does, every country would like to do. But my question is whether, in reality, have we reached perfection or going towards perfection? Or whether we are going towards destruction. And that is a fear of imperfection that is in our minds. And however much they talk about positivity, positive thinking, the negative thoughts about ourselves and the world is in the back of our minds. Transformation is necessary, and it has to go from one stage to the other. And intentionally, we have to work hard to get to the next stage, the intended perfection. But then the question again, are we reaching it? Have we got the potential to reach to perfection? Or are we going backwards? Whether it's personal life, whether it's a community life, national life, whether we are living in the cultural experiences, whether we are coming towards each other. Then, of course, our scientific efforts to go to the moon, then now Mars, and space exploration, spending billions of dollars where billions of people are starving. It could be a series of transformation that we could accept. But then, will the goal be achieved and has any meaning as far as space exploration is concerned? Where are we heading? What do we want to do? Whereas we as human beings are still going backwards. So the question is, what is perfection? Could human beings reach that perfection before the universe comes to an end, as scientists predict, even religions predict? So my plea is that we should need to accept the fact that imperfection is the reality today. And we need to look at our lives, our community, and the world through that lens. I'm sorry that I'm bringing negative picture, but I call it realistic, and I think I'm a realist. Living today in the past is something that we need to forget, but need to project our goals, thoughts, and views and attitudes, of course, and even prediction about the future. But realistically, where do we stand? Before I go to the global picture that most of us know, any questions or any thoughts or why we are going from imperfection to imperfection and not getting transformed into.
Don, can I say it in a bit differently?
Yeah.
How the founder of the Wi-Fi says that at this stage of humanity, there are two forces that are trying to achieve things. One is the force of unity, and the other force is destruction of the old order. And perhaps we're seeing these two together at the same time now. We see disorder, but at the same time, we are going towards a united civilization as time goes on. So perhaps we shouldn't be so negative about it. Should we look at it in a positive and negative together? Negative in the sense that the old order is not disappearing as quickly as one likes to, but the new order is not coming as much as it should come because we need it now. Perhaps that's the way to look at the pattern of human state at this moment.
Yeah, you're right. We learn from the past, and at the same time, we need to live in hope for unity or a new order. And so any other thoughts before I move into another stage?
Jung has raised a hand.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Thank you, Siva.
Yes.
Let us say that you have a double negative there, imperfection to imperfection.
Yep.
In the language sense, when double negative can convert to affirmative. Affirmative. So what I'm saying, we see a lot of hope. We have a lot of hope there. The only thing that if you want to continue with the unity, like ideas, you want to continue that ideas, then we need open communications among nations, among people, among the leaders and the people, because at the moment that communication channel have been blocked. Like 5 years ago, if you are the leader, you have to create a 5-year plan. You have to do 5 years plan, just like China and all the leaders of the nation. And you will not be able to coping to like COVID pandemic. If you started in 2019, you're going to be able to see and act on 5 years plan of when COVID pandemic step in, the Ukraine problem, Gaza problem step in, the cost of living inflation step in, and the cyber scam step in. So all these things, they just like pop up, they ad hoc. And if a leader of the nation, if we cannot open communication to deal with all these issues and with people with ad hoc situation, we cannot build unity. Because you want to continue unity, you have to put in billion dollars more into it to patch it up, to patch unity. So that's how I see it. Because at the moment, you see, we change the policy. Why this all just like in all the country area, all the lawyers left their profession. They're looking for a different job because they in the countryside, just like Alice Spring and Darwin, for example, the legal team or the lawyers, they left the land. They want to get a different job because they just couldn't afford to live there to carry the justice or equality between man and man. Why?
Good question, Young. I'll hand it back to John now.
Yeah. In a way, we need to keep the dichotomy, keep the balance, and at the same time, as you said, that which comes from outside, like COVID or fear of nuclear war, climatic change. I would say that going through a anger management course with a refugee, we were taught, we never allow the external force to affect us. Immediately we had to look into ourselves to see where the potential is, to find love and hope and acceptance and kindness and things like that from within. So even in the picture that I was painting, the negative side of what is happening now is real, but then how do we cope with that? This particular group of people, as we gather, we are the people, the nucleus of that thinks in a not just positive way, but with deep conviction and faith in God that there will be something that we can look forward to. So before I come to that, I would just say, think like, just a global picture. Has democracy worked for humanity, after the Second World War? All the promises that we made. Has emancipation of countries, naturalization and liberation and freedom, indigenization, all those terms that were used on people's progress, has it made, has caused a better place for humanity to live and to survive? And say after Second World War, USSR was, dismantled, and now what's happening with Russia? Russia's Putin's aggression towards Ukraine. Has Germany that had come out of the war, is it now a better place, particularly with humanitarian conversations going on, particularly about, very especially about refugee policies? I mean, even Australia, we made a lot of promises and signed the 1951 Convention and 1968 Protocol. Where are we standing? We are actually going backwards. And I saw a letter from the minister who says, we are leading humanitarian settlement country. I was thinking, what is he talking about? It's not happening. 10,000 people are waiting to be processed, who are with asylum, who are with bridging visa or no visa in the country, and they don't know how to handle them because they have been here for 10 to 12 years, and all the families and separated. And those who are with families here, children are unable to enter university because they have to pay the money to be an international student. So where are we heading? Even after the Second World War, even after signing all these conventions. What about US? Now, lots of things are talked about US. They say a country like US caused so many wars, and even within US, democracy and freedom is being challenged at the moment. And what about the Black people in the US? Have they found the freedom? And has racism, has people had to shout and shout and protest, saying, Black Lives Matter. So, this is in short, in what we have learned, we haven't even learned from our past mistakes. And after all that we have gone through as humanity, particularly the 20th century, 21st century, we are going backwards. So in Australia, there's multiculturalism reality. And why did they say no to the voice of our indigenous people? And what about our health conditions? And as Jung was saying, COVID and the fear of living in these times, the external health challenges, has economic policies led us to a better life for those who are on the lower strata? How many people are jobless? How many people are with casual labor? And how many are struggling to pay rent? And the Prime Minister today had promised tax cuts. Where will it take us? Will that be challenged? So looking at the church unity, the Reformation, are the churches united? And are they coming together to form one voice towards peace and unity and love and kindness? It's good to hear the Pope talking about mercy is the name of God, which is true. But how much influence church has on people in US or any other country for that matter? So looking at some positive things, I was looking at the nature, from caterpillar to larva to butterfly. There is a sign that God gives, and there is hope that nature teaches us, even after bushfire. The trees come back, and there's new life. And I'm part of this Sydney Alliance group, and we study about London Alliance, where the civil society has come together to challenge the economy and the politics of the country. And it was said that the fifth city is a model in where they built the city on their own. The people did it. That not only positive thinking, but it is dedication and commitment, and people coming together as one people in unity to build their city. So, as a Christian, I look up to many role models whom I think have come closer to perfection. They call them saints. And in other religions as well, people have reached that stage as individuals. But as a community, there's a question. For me, Saul becoming Paul is a sign. For me, Jesus rising from the dead and giving hope to the world, forgiveness and new life, is something that gives me hope for the future. And looking at John Newton's song "Amazing Grace," the anti-slavery, he finally became a champion for anti-slavery. There are people there are saints who have gone before us, who have taught us that in faith, in a God of love, God is all-powerful, God of mercy, there is hope for perfection. For He is perfect, beckoning us towards perfection. Not to lose hope, but to transform ourselves daily, transform our communities daily, work towards it so that we, as the nucleus of that new order that we were talking about, could reach that goal. It might not be, again, perfect, since there's nothing called perfect. No one is perfect, only God is perfect. But we can make a better place, better world, better environment, better universe for everyone, not only to live, but to thrive and to reach our potential. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reverend John. That's that had a very hopeful and lovely ending, and gives us something to think about for sure. And definitely, I agree. My business card says the betterment of the world can be achieved. So I'm glad we got to that point. That's really good. That's really good.
But I wanted to give the title of something that people will, think, what is it? Because we belong to a group of people who live in hope, and we are actually not only live in hope, but we are embodiment of the hope. So then, but at the same time, but I believe in making people uncomfortable, so that they will start thinking and they will start moving forward. If the people are too comfortable, nothing happens.
Well, perhaps my first question, to try and make myself more comfortable, is from imperfection to imperfection. Can we interpret that as we may never be perfect as God is, but we can be less imperfect, still imperfect, but less imperfect?
Yeah, I mean, it will be less perfect, we'll say. Transformation is something that we need to keep in mind. Without transformation, there is no we can't find the next stage. We have to change. Change is so important. It's painful, it's hard, but once we are prepared to prepare for transformation of self, community, and nations, even geopolitics, then we can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Good. Transformation. That's a hopeful word.
Yeah.
Ahmed, you're next.
Yeah, I like very much what you said about transformation. I want to catch on that word transformation. And it looks like humanity at this stage of its life needs that transformation. And perhaps these difficulties that have arisen, like, things that are global and problems, issues, these hardships are there in order to transform us towards an advancing civilization. I don't like the word imperfection. I like the word advancing, ever advancing civilization. As we look at history, obviously humanity is advancing towards a higher state of civilization. So perhaps we reach to a point where we need major transformation in order to get global unity. So I'm much in agreement with you that transformation is definitely needed now. And I actually want to say something else, that Baha'u'llah explains the progress of humanity like the life of a human being. And he says that a human being goes through these different states of, a sperm and baby, a child and adulthood, and then a matureness, and then older age. And perhaps humanity is going through those stages as well. We started as a child, we now in a state of adolescence, and once we achieve unity of the civilization, then we are mature, and then we can progress for a long time, an everlasting civilization.
Yeah, we can't afford to be present. I used the word realistic earlier. We can be realistic, but then we have to be progressive as well. We can't stay where we are. And we have to take up the challenge. So unless and otherwise we see the negative part of it and the worst scenario, we cannot be challenged, because it's easy to be complacent. I mean, civilization, story of the civilization. For me, we have not progressed. Because we have not learned to, we were talking about learning to love neighbors, love others. And that's what all the religions profess. But when you look at the civilizations, we have not gone from we have not gone towards that goal of living in unity and loving our neighbor, accepting others who are not like us. This is going on and on and on. And so I'm a little negative in that aspect. We need to come out of that idea that we have reached a stage where we can be proud of. I don't. Yeah, carry on.
We definitely need transformation, as you say. Individual, community, even nations, they have to come into a further transformation in order that human unity can be achieved. So we are not there, but that's what has to happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you, Ahmed. Siva.
Thank you. Thank you for the thought-provoking talk. You challenge us to think that whether the humanity is going backwards. When we are looking at some of those undesirable happenings in the world, and when we are bombarded by the media and the social media with those negative messages, one might think that we are going backwards, or the negatives are more than the positives, or there is no hope. But I think if we look back the history of humanity, we have to say that we have been progressing. Now, for example, I am in a country that is not my place of birth. And I am talking peacefully with people of different background. And there are women who are sitting in this forum with equal rights. Now, 100 years ago, it was not possible. Whether the logistics was there or not, but people were hostile to different people, one color or one race or whatever it is, they are hostile to others. So if you look at that, it is actually progressing. The one thing that we have to, if every individual realizes that we are all spiritual beings and having a short sojourn in this planet, and we have been created by a power that is beyond us, beyond our comprehension. And that power has some plan, which is, if we realize that what is within us and what is the purpose of this life, then the way that we look and act in this world will change. I recently came across this hidden words that I actually put on the chat. It says from Baha'u'llah, "Oh my friend, thou art the day star of the heavens, O my holiness. Let not the defilement of the world eclipse thy splendor. Rend asunder the veil of heedlessness, that from behind the clouds thou mayest emerge resplendent and array all things with the apparel of light." So to me, this one is, my understanding of this verses is that the splendor that is not our body, the what is within us, the power, the soul, or the spirit, that is splendorous. But what is preventing us from shining, something is eclipsing, is the defilement of the world. Our attachment to the worldly things is the one that is preventing us from shining up. Whether my race, my language, my country, my family, whereas my car, my house, all these attachment is preventing from individuals to shine their splendor. And then he says, "Rend asunder the veil of heedlessness, that from behind the clouds thou mayest emerge resplendent." My understanding that veil of heedlessness is that the guidance were given from time immemorial, from Adam, Abraham, and Moses, and Jesus, and all the manifestations of God. They were guiding us. And when we are heedless, then the problem comes. When we listen to the word of God and act and translate those into action, then we can come out of that cloud, which I think is the attachment to these worldly things. So we can actually work together to help us realize who we are and improve from imperfection to imperfection, but a little bit higher imperfection or perfection. At the same time, while we improve ourselves, we also have to do something to the society where we are living in, which you are doing in your own life. So you are an example for that. Thank you. That's my comments.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, you sum it up. The hope that we have in God and in His, because God has His plan, and the plan is always good, because when He created the world, He said He rejoiced it was good. But it's human beings who failed. But as for God, God created everything and called it good, and that's His goal for humanity. And as I said earlier, we are the nucleus which is working towards that goal of God. So we have accepted or made it our own, that we live it out. But at the same time, as you say, we have to share with the rest of the world. We are like the leaven. We are like the salt of the world. And how are we changing the society around us? Can we change the world in this way? And we can't lose hope of not doing it, but we have to keep doing it. and keep shining. And I love, do something about the clouds to move out, and so the splendor of God will be seen and experienced by humanity. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Young, you've got a short question?
Before Colin, before you go, I just wanted to give a special welcome to two friends who are from India. They are our World Peace Forum participants. This is Dr. Velamal, and then we have Parambu Nadarajan. So we just want to welcome them as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your welcome.
Okay, Young, you can, sorry.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Siva. The word, the notion of transformation is an old notion and nothing new about it. If you read into the history of the army and the defense forces, women have been fighting in a battlefield side by side with men for a long, long time. So that's why they're talking about equality. Why they talk about that? Men and women, they fought side by side in the battlefields. The men protect women's life, women protect men's life, and the children's life. So on the equality, there's nothing different between them once they face the enemies. That's a survival skill, as long as they both have survival skills. And talk about transformation. In the music number 1 we have today, there's a sentence, do not be conformed into this world, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. A lot of people, when they face transformation by renewing their mind, just like I mentioned about the lawyers left Alice Spring or Darwin because they couldn't cope with the life there, and because no budget, no resources there, so they left. And they want to have new life somewhere. They want to have new jobs somewhere. That it was in the social media, everybody knew about it. It's not new about it. In the social media last week. So the thing that to change policy is not that difficult. Some nations, when they're not engaged in the war, they send all the people who graduated from the university to work in the countryside for at least from 3 to 5 years. So they can help the people in the countryside to transform their life, to educate them, to bring technology in. So what I'm saying in conclusion, transformation is not something new. So what we're saying, and we talk about equality with men and women, they got to think about the hardship. Not because when in a peaceful life, the man said, oh, I'm superior. It's not like that. Who bring him to that superior position? The women. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Colin, if I may, I just want to share the verses that were cited by Jung. This is what she was saying.
Yeah.
And not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God.
I thought of this particular passage, but I couldn't write it down. But yeah, this is one of the, important verses in the Bible.
Can I say that the transformation is the policy of all the past religions? Every religion, you have to transform.
Yeah, absolutely. Of all religions, in every heart and mind. Yeah.
Yes, and I mean, we have been reading these particular passages many times, but I think today we are focusing more on it, so I like to read it again.
Yeah, good.
It says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. So that was Romans 12, 1-2.
1-2. That's a good way to finish it.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I also, Mr. Saurirajan is also from India, and he was one of our speakers here in the past. And then we have Subha Vedavalli. Yes. Anyway, and
Colin wants to say something.
Okay, Colin.
No, that's right. I'm very thank you for introducing the audience. That makes it more meaningful for me too. And the last few questions lead on to my question, which was that I think Christianity is one of the best and clearest examples of how God loves us, and therefore he teaches and educates us, not just intellectually, but our hearts as well, and gives us a second birth. So transformation is possible when God intervenes in humanity and when we turn to him. I even remember there's something in the New Testament. I think Jesus said, "Be perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect." So at the very least, he's giving us a goal. We're not going to become God, but we can try to gain perfections. And another example of how Christianity did that was in another one of the readings, which was from Luke 6, which was, for example, love your enemies, and judge not, and don't condemn people. I mean, these are amazing things, and yet when Jesus came, that was the kind of community he created. Otherwise, how would it have become a global religion? It must have been that these things actually can happen when people turn to God. That was more a comment than a question, but I'd be interested in your thoughts about, John, about the quote, "Be perfect even as your Father in heaven is perfect."
Yep. And perfect love that banishes fear is another sentence or challenge that we could take, that, what we need is courage for transformation, and the willingness and readiness to even suffer for the sake of the new world, for the sake of God's kingdom. So if we can aspire towards perfect love, that will give us the emancipation and freedom to be the people of God in the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ahmed has a question.
Well, I don't have a question, but I'd like to add a point that is very important here. Human beings need examples in order to go forward towards perfection. And the lives of manifestations of God are those examples that we have to follow in order to reach that, advance into more perfection. So reading and knowing the lives of all these past manifestations is an example for us to progress.
Absolutely. Yeah, you need the role models in life, and even as we think of Black Lives Matter, Martin Luther King comes to my mind, because he's one of those role models that the Black people and those, those who love both black and the white follow. Yeah. Thank you.
You're muted.
Yeah, anybody else like to ask Reverend John a question while we have him? Or a comment? It's good to see everyone here, and I do appreciate Reverend John wearing a colourful shirt. That makes it very enjoyable.
Sri Lankan batik.
Is it? Oh, it's really nice.
Yeah,
I love that design.
Batik. It's an old
Brilliant.
one, but it's colourful.
Yeah, it is good.
That gives hope.
Yeah.
I didn't wear a black shirt.
Definitely good choice.
Yes.
All right. John, would you like to say anything else before we go to a close?
I think we have covered most of the things that we should have said in this space, and I'm glad that I was able to say the things that brought out questions and challenge us from our comfort zone. And our group is an emancipated group anyway. It is a spiritual group, and we are spiritual people connected with God in our own way and together. So we are the converted ones, but we need a lot to do. We need to do a lot for the community and those around us, with the hope of we can find perfection in God, and that His goal, the kingdom of God that He created, or He has promised, He will be a place where we will find that perfection, and the word, the splendor and the brightness and the goodness that we look forward to.
I think that's a lovely point to finish on. I see, Young, you have your hand up. Is it very brief and positive?
Yeah, positive. This positive here, John. Just wondered, I don't know if you're involved in the methods of dealing with women, especially the people who become homeless because of the domestic violence. Normally, people in a very sad situation, they turn up to the church to ask for help, in the past. Anyway, but since the COVID, is your church still receive the help for women or just refer them to the government?
My church and the churches that I work with, Uniting Church, equality of women is one of those values that we hold very high, and women ministry is something that the moderator now is a Tongan woman, and the president of the assembly next year, or the president-elect, is a Tongan woman, and so we are a church which is very open to women's contribution and equality. I mean, we don't have to even talk about it because we are equal, and but in certain ways, women are weak physically. So that's how domestic violence is an area where women have to be protected. And I'm part of the Ethnic Council Men Against Violence advisory group, working towards safety of women and to educate men that violence in any form is not acceptable. And it's not only against a woman, but children as well. So, yeah, so there's another area that we need to work on. because we know that every week someone is dying. And at the moment, 2 days ago, I was in the court, Parramatta local courts, on the domestic violence situation. So we work on that, and I work with the men mostly to advise them, and at the same time help women who are going through mental health and homelessness and anxiety, depression, owing to domestic situation or domestic violence. So yeah, this is one of the major things that we are dealing with in our Tamil community at the moment.
Thank you, Father John. Because in the past, I know that women normally turn up to the convent and knock on the door of all the nuns to get refuge. But so far, few nuns' houses have been closed, and they transfer the nuns go somewhere else. So if the nuns got transferred somewhere else, so obviously the job will have to fall into the government's hand.
It's true. And on the other hand, the slavery, women were very vulnerable, and we think that the slavery in the world has been have been defeated, or but there's an anti-slavery program here in Australia, and I worked with that group, and still I'm in connection with them. And they say recently they said slavery in different forms have increased in the world. You know, people are enslaved in many ways, and particularly women. And that's another area of domestic violence. Slavery is another area. One of the sisters that I work with, Sister Margaret, she works from Catholic Church on this particular project, and Jenny Stranger, she's originally from US. She's one of the leaders here in Sydney. Yeah, so that's another area that we have to get minds transformed, men's minds transformed, and women looked after.
I think that was a good question you asked, Yong, because it brought us back to the beginning where Reverend John talked about how the imperfections of this earthly existence are God's way of perfecting us, and how the individuals involved in this forum and similar forums and everywhere at the grassroots level are actually doing positive things. And so while on the surface this might look like a talk group, but in fact we've had speakers. We had one Muslim lady who had started a refuge mainly for Muslim women, but it opened it up to everyone. And we've had people helping a lady who was helping the pygmies in the Congo because they'd been moved out of the mountains and weren't accepted anywhere else. Really, I would say that everyone here is doing what they can at the grassroots level, and it's a very practical group we have, with everyone doing things, and even just coming together and being able to talk and learn from each other is an achievement in a world like this.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I think we might just say thank you very much, Reverend John, at this point. It was a brilliant presentation, simple but beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
John. I think your topic is very complex, not simple. It's super complex and very educational too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you and bye-bye, and God bless you all.
Thank you.